Ready? Hey guys, welcome to Fearless Cooking, and thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to do cast iron chicken. Now, I don't know, some of you guys have heard me talk before about I used to not like chicken breasts because to me it was always dried out. And Kenji Lopez is a guy that did a great book. It's a great it's a cookbook, but it's also kind of a cooking resource. And he talks about how we don't need to like overcook chicken breasts. That 165 is kind of this. Hey, if you get it to 165, everything is dead, but it also like really dries out the meat. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. I just want to kind of give you the rundown of kind of how today's going to work. So I got my chicken. I've had it out of the oven for an hour. I mean, I have had it out of the fridge for an hour. I've got the oven preset to 450, okay? And there is a cast iron skillet in there because I'm wanting that cast iron skillet to be hot whenever I put the chicken in there. I'm gonna put a probe in. This is a dot. It's by ThermalWorks, and what it's going to do is it's going to tell me when the internal temperature on this chicken is 122 degrees. And you know, this thing is fairly accurate, and I've got an instant read thermometer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in there, and then I'll turn the oven off and put it back in the oven. So we got it at 450. It's going to be at 450 until the temp here comes to 122. Then we'll turn the oven off, and we're going to let the chicken kind of coast until it gets to about 145 breast temperature. Okay? Because once it's at 145, it will have been there for a while. It'll continue to increase after it comes out. So this way we don't get an overcooked chicken breast. All right, and then while this kind of the second half of this stuff's going on, I got an air fryer right before Christmas, and I've been impressed with the way that it handles vegetables. So what I thought we'd do, like during some of this kind of downtime while this stuff's cooking, is that we'll cook some vegetables in the air fryer so you guys can kind of take a look. Maybe you've already got one. If not, you know, maybe this is a way to kind of evaluate, hey, is that something that would warrant taking up, you know, cabinet or counter space in your kitchen? So with all that, I'm going to get started.
And am I right? You're also going to make a sauce for the chicken?
Yeah, we're going to make a lemon sauce. It's a lemon, a little bit of butter, and some chicken broth. So all the ingredients that we've got, these are some purple new potatoes that I'm going to use, that I'm going to cook in the air fryer. I've got some Brussels sprouts we're also going to do in the air fryer. The lemon is going to get quartered and put in once we take the skillet out of the oven, and we'll put those in there. We'll turn the oven off, put it back in, and this is going to end up going in our sauce. We're going to squeeze that through the mesh and collect the juice. Then we're gonna cook a shallot in some of the stock that's left in the skillet, and then this is a cup of chicken broth, and we'll put like a squirt of mustard in there. So I think that's got all of our ingredients.
I remember you were going to use thyme.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's in the fridge. There's some thyme, and the butter is in there. I just keep this letting them hang out in there.
That's saving for the sauce. The thyme is for the sauce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So, and let's see, with the thyme, I think we're using, it's like maybe like a couple of teaspoons worth.
Okay.
We're just going to pull some off the stem, and then we'll add it. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to go ahead and take the
It's a big chicken.
It's a big chicken, and it is not. It's been out of the fridge for an hour. It's still cold. But what I hate is if anytime you take meat that's right out of the fridge and throw it in an oven, it's like invariably none of your cooking times ever agree with what you see on any kind of a recipe. And it also, I think, is harder to get the meat to brown. So what I've learned the hard way is, hey, you're a whole lot better off if you will, I'm just pouring a little bit of olive oil on here. We're just going to rub it all up on the chicken. and then I'll put it on the bottom of it.
So you're better off to take the meat out of
Yeah,
the
for about
fridge
an
and let
hour.
it-
Yeah,
okay.
and that way it's getting closer to room temp, and it'll brown and it'll cook better. Now what I'm going to do is just put another like kind of a light salt and pepper on there, and get that probe in there. And once I do that, then I'll pull that skillet out. But you know that sucker is going to be screaming hot, so you know be careful with yours so that you know that's when I've got one of these. I think it's made out of Nomar. It's a type of heat resistant cloth, and it's what I use if I'm either going to work on the big green egg where I'm grabbing something that's super hot, or if I'm grabbing something like cast iron, then hit it with a little like salt. Yeah, the only thing I hate about using chicken is it's like I feel like I wash my hands about 75 times because it's one of the only meats. I need a little more even kind of weird with chicken than I am with pork.
Just from the bacteria
Yeah,
standpoint?
you know, like fish, I don't ever even worry about it that much, but with and maybe you know I probably should, but there's just something. There's a level of precaution. Hey, Jason, Lindsay. Okay, yeah, don't do it that way.
Pin video.
No, don't do it that way.
Oops, sorry, trying to, we've got
There we
some.
go. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, got some,
You're muted.
there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. All right. We're working out the like subtle kinks as far as how we get the recording correct. So now we're back where we need to be there. Okay, so we got the chicken. It's salt and peppered. I put a little bit of olive oil on it. My oven is at 450. Now what I'm going to do is I've got the probe on this dot, and I'm going to put it in the thickest part of the breast to make sure that I don't touch the bone. So I'm just going to put it right in here. There we go.
Could you do this without this probe or?
Sure you can, but what you would need to be doing is like, you know, like opening the door, oven door a lot more. And since I want the heat to stay in there,
Got it.
I was trying to minimize that. Plus, I just, you know, it's one of those things that I think it's a handy thing to have. All right, let me
Wash your hands.
one more time. Actually, you know, I'm sure I'll wash them 6 or 7 more times.
Better safe than sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's I had a friend that got sick from contamination from chicken, and this dude was sick for like months. I mean, they couldn't figure out what it was, and they finally figured that out.
So this is that special glove you're talking
Yeah, this
about?
is it's I think it's rated up to like 900 degrees, and I never thought I needed one until I grabbed something off of the big green egg that burned through a leather glove that I had and gave me I'm pretty sure I have a 3rd-degree burn on my hand, and it's like I've never had anything hurt like that before, and hurt as long as it did.
How long did you have the skillet in the oven?
30 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so you know you can see it smoking a little bit. I didn't put any kind of oil or anything in there. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put this here. Yeah, it's pretty warm.
Yeah.
And then I'm just gonna get that. Once again, wash my hands.
So now you're gonna place it in the oven?
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in. Just a little bit. Oh, it went out the back of it. So I guess this thing is a little longer than the chicken is.
The probe is?
Yeah,
but,
I wonder what the over-under would be on how many times I'll wash my hands today. That would have probably been a pretty good tool to start.
Yeah, we could have.
Uh-huh. All right, so grab this thing again.
It's like a little bit of a balancing act you have to do here.
Yeah. Just unmute this. Yeah, because that would be really stupid to hold them wrong.
Oh, so it just stays outside of the oven. That's pretty handy.
Huh?
It's pretty handy to have it
Yeah,
this
it's
time to open and close the oven with your.
yeah. So it's 60 degrees right now, because that's internal on the chicken. So we're just going to keep this here, and what it'll do is that this thing will give me an alarm at 122.
Oh, so we don't need to set the timer.
Nope, not for right now.
It will tell us.
Yeah, it'll tell us when
How
it's
long do you
done.
think that would probably be about?
20 to 30 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so now what we got that going. We will move this out of the way. We'll go ahead and quarter the lemon to have it ready.
This is for the sauce.
Yeah,
that you'll
this is
make
going to be
later.
for the sauce. So I'm going to get all this stuff ready, and then what I'm going to do is I will we'll start working on some of the vegetables.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm also going to just not spend a lot of time, but you're going to see some difference in how I'm cooking with Fearless Cooking, because in the beginning, everything, it's like I have followed kind of a paleo-oriented diet. Oh man, I started, when was that? 2000, probably 11, maybe 12, something like that. And I've loved the way that it's felt. And I've kind of gone from kind of a straight up paleo into more of a keto. And I'm kind of modifying that some. I'm still paleo, but I'm just not going to be doing the full on keto. And I explain on that here in a minute. Let's get the rest of this stuff going. What I'm going to do is I'll do the potatoes first. And this is a organic purple potato that I get at Central Market. And if you're not in Texas, I think these things are Peru. I'm not 100% sure. Before I knead it, I'm going to grab the lighter over here. So whenever I have to make the sauce, I'll have the lighter we need. All right. Yeah, and these things, what I like about them, let's see, I think we'll third them, is that it's not just that the skin's purple, the inside's purple. So, you always hear that whole thing about eat the rainbow. And I think one of the reasons for that is the stuff that makes all this stuff, all these different colors, is like the phytonutrients that are in them. So it's got, it kind of has some stuff, I think, similar to what's in blueberries.
So as potatoes go, it's about the healthiest.
Yeah,
potato you
absolutely.
can-
And with me, I am eating more carbs now in my diet, and more starchy carbs. But it's like they're there is kind of like a seasoning, as opposed to that they're a big part of the calories I consume.
I also just think they look really pretty on the plate.
Oh,
make
they
for a
do.
Colorful plate.
And
Yeah,
I think
very appetizing.
it's also, it's like it's appetizing, and it kind of gives us clues about, okay, is this kind of a well-rounded plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always cringe when I look across at a restaurant or something and I see a table full of people, and it looks like that everything they're eating is kind of a dull tan.
Yeah.
Because that just tells me that's not, I mean, yeah, hey, it's fuel, but it's not necessarily the best fuel you can be eating. Right? So, all right, so the way that this that was fortunate.
You don't want to move your Brussels sprouts. So
Yeah.
it looks like
I think
they're
I need to adjust those. we'll put those out of the way. We'll grab them in a minute. Okay, so the way that, this is the Cuisinart. The way that this thing's set up, there's a pan that goes underneath, and then there's this little basket here. I'm gonna set these at like 375, and we'll do them for about 10 minutes and see what they look like. So I'm just gonna take these, I'll just put them back in here and put a little olive oil in there, and we'll hit them with a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's all they're gonna need. So don't need a
So
whole lot of
easy.
oil. Yeah, the thing that I like about this is that just in a matter of minutes, you got vegetables that are done. And if you've got, you know, if you're cooking something in the oven and it needs to be a different temperature, it makes it easy, you know, to have something else working. So we'll just lay these out, and then once I put them in there, I'll just hit them with a little bit of salt. I probably could put some Brussels sprouts on there, but I'm not sure that they're going to cook at the same temp.
Yeah.
They probably, I know they may not be done at the same time. So we'll just do it this way. All right, now a little bit of, let's use this. A little bit of salt.
Is that kosher salt? that
Uh-huh.
you're using?
Yeah. And then I'll use a little bit of pepper. On the Brussels sprouts, I use some of that that Kirkland seasoning that I'm so addicted to. All right, so the way that this thing works is just once we put it in there, then we set, it's got a built-in timer. Is it? And that's weird. There's no way it's already 122.
Wow.
But let's see.
Take out the chip. That was very quick, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's not, I think what it is it must be like,
It went all the way through and
yeah, let's see. Let me check with this.
I guess it was good and
Yeah,
very.
it's 77, so I'm not
Okay.
sure.
It was
well,
good
I
in
guess-
theory.
Huh?
It was good in theory.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I will pull this thing out. So this is that fearless part of fearless cooking where you just have to go, okay, that didn't work like I was wanting it to. All right, so let's set a timer for 20
Sure,
minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah, and let's see what that does.
Okay.
The chicken may not be 120 degrees, but I think the edge of that is.
Oh, wow.
All right. That's what's funny. It's like, so the hot water here is 120 degrees. And it's like what I figured out is that you can have your hand in 120 degrees of hot water. And it's, you know, it's, you don't want to just leave it in there a super long time, but it's not going to be like tearing you up. But you grab metal that's 122 degrees, and that's a whole different story. So, all right.
So potatoes are going, and that timer will just go off on its own?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, what we'll do is I'll check them about midway through to see if they need to be flipped.
Okay.
Okay. Now what I'll do, get this out of the way, is we'll start working on the Brussels sprouts.
Okay. And then you also have prep for the sauce.
Yep. But really, there's very little prep because the sauce is going to be, once I pull that out, we'll put the lemons in.
Okay.
Okay, actually, I'll tell you what, I will go ahead and get the shallot minced just so we've got it done. Let's see. Where, oh, I was looking for the bench scraper.
Right in front of you.
Yeah.
And you're just drinking Topo Chico.
I know, it's kind of hard
Wow.
to believe. All right, let's move this out of the way so you can see. Okay, and I'm just gonna slice it real thin, and then we'll just do a quick mince. Yeah, so I found out the other day that I am a kind of a genetic freak. I have never felt better than I felt on a ketogenic diet. I mean, I lost weight. I was basically weigh now what I did when I was like in high school. And, you know, I probably lost, I don't know, 6 inches around my waist over the years. So, you know, it's like, man, I felt like I was on top of the world. The problem is that I knew that from the old days back, I mean, I started out, you know, before I started doing the paleo diet, I was like looking at some lab work the other day with somebody that I'm working with, and they were like, you were pre-diabetic back then. I mean, when you look at your numbers, you were insulin resistant. So during that time, I found out that I had coronary lesions. I had atherosclerosis, which was actually the thing that made me start paying attention to the whole kind of paleo concept. But over the years, even though I changed my diet up and my insulin resistance and all that stuff changed, I still, every once in a while, would have like these high LDL numbers. Well, I talked to Rob Wolf at Paleo FX, I guess it was last year, and he's like, man, there's some other results we need to see. We need to see kind of what your particle count is. So I had that done, and my LDL particle count was real elevated. So it was like, all right, well, look, let's just put you on like a low dose statin. And I was like, man, you know, if anybody besides Wolf would have said you ought to look at a statin, I would have just told them to take a hike. So went on a low dose statin and then started a 1 month period of just like real tight keto. We retested my numbers during that period of time, and my LDL particle count had actually gone up on statins. And probably the biggest driver of that was that I was like fully in the midst of the ketogenic period. So what I realized is I also had I'd had that 23andMe test done years ago, and so I ended up running the results through a genetic testing tool that Rhonda Patrick has. And what I saw from that was that I have, they're called SNPs, or single nucleotide polymorphisms. It's basically this like kind of, they're not like full-on mutations. I guess in some senses they are, but it's more just like kind of subtle things about the way that some of your metabolic pathways work. So it looks like that on some of mine, either some stuff maybe down-regulates the way that I get rid of LDL. But long story short, what I'm like experimenting with now is, okay, what happens if I like lower the amount of saturated fat that I'm consuming? Because Jude and I have basically the same diet. Her LDL numbers are always significantly lower than mine. So I guess where I'm trying to go with this is I'm working with some people now to where I can have links to some of these tests to make it easier for people to be able to have their own tests done, just so that you can get a better handle on, hey, is there a better way for me to kind of tune in my diet? Okay, my diet and all my recommendations are always going to be around, hey, we need to eat whole food. And when I mean whole food, it's like, you know, that's a perfect example. You know, there's no ingredient list with Brussels sprouts. Same thing with potatoes. And it's like, you know, some people may do, like, you have people that'll be carnivore or people that are vegan going, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. What may be going on there is a little bit of an elimination diet. They've gotten rid of some things that were inflaming them. You know, and I know that there are people that have said, I'll be a carnivore the rest of my life. Same thing with vegans. I think over time, your body can be going, hey, you know, I need a little more of this stuff, okay, or I need a little less of this. So I think there's tools out there that can help us get a better perspective on that. So anyway, that's kind of enough of all the editorial there. As I get those resources available, I'll let you know that during Fearless Cooking, as well as I'll have them posted on the site. So we're getting close to the 10 minutes. Let's take a look at this and see kind of where it is. Yeah, That's looking good. Now, let's see. I think I'll flip this over.
How are they looking?
Looking good. I'm going to flip them over and do the other side.
Okay.
So we'll let
Did
that.
the timer go off? I missed
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, you can have this thing, but if you get part of your bare skin on there,
Yeah, not good.
pretty damn hot. About 6 minutes. All right.
It's just so quick and easy.
I know, and it's just, man, they taste fabulous. All right, so now we'll work on the Brussels sprouts. How much? We got 12
We
minutes?
have
Okay.
about 12 minutes
Yeah.
for the.
All right.
So what kind of vegetables can you just like list all the different vegetables? you can
Man, I
put in
mean,
this fryer?
we've done broccoli. I've done okra. I've done chicken wings.
Green beans even.
Green
We put
beans.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's a vegetable that I mean, like kale would be great in there.
They just get nice and crunchy.
Yeah.
don't they?
And that's what I like about it. If you have like a kind of a world-class convection oven, then you're good. The only problem there is you're heating up this great big thing to cook maybe a little bit of something.
Yeah.
But you know, that's really what this is. It's just they call it an air fryer, but reality is it's just a convection oven. And you know, the air circulates, you know, the heat around. That hurt. You know, I've nicked myself. In fact, it's weird. I haven't cut myself for years. Once my kids finally showed me how to do the claw, but I was like screwing around cutting bell pepper the other day, and I was like reckless in how I was holding how I was holding it, and ended up like taking a little piece of my finger off. But cutting yourself it's painful, and it's more that it's a nuisance later on. A burn to me is like it's a whole another league of pain. So it's like it kind of is why I got nothing but respect for the chefs that are constantly getting burned. I don't know if it's just you just get tougher over time, or it just I guess you're so busy you don't have time to think about it.
So tell us what you're
Yeah,
doing.
so what
with
I'm
the
doing is
Brussels
I'm
sprouts.
just going through, I cut all the ends off, and now I'm just cutting these in half.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'm gonna try something that I did the other day. I'm just gonna kind of mash on them to try and get the leaves to loosen up just a little bit.
Because why are you doing that?
Just because I think it makes them cook a little better. And then I'm gonna toss them in I've got a bowl over there, and I'm gonna toss them in that, hit them with some olive oil and a little salt and some of that Kirkland seasoning. All right. Yeah, and I just kind of mashed it with my hand. I don't know if that helps or not, but I read something the other day. It was like talking about using your fingers to try and loosen the leaves up a little bit. I guess you could just do it like that, just kind of spread them open.
Mm-hmm.
That way, number one, the oil gets in there a little more.
Yeah, they get crispier too.
Yeah.
It seems like when you do that, yeah.
And
Not so mushy.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, because I remember I had an absolute visceral hatred for Brussels sprouts for years. Because as a kid, they were always like boiled. They never tasted like anything. That was the only, maybe too much information, that was the only vegetable, that was the only food I ever got sick on. It was one of those deals of, you will eat that. And I was like, well, okay. And, took a big slug of milk, ate the Brussels sprouts, and immediately ran to the bathroom and threw up. And after that, I was like, I'm not eating Brussels sprouts. But, over the years, it's like, I figured out that it was more just kind of, well, I think your palate changes, but I also think it's like, you know, we cook things differently now.
Yeah.
All right, so now hit it with a little olive oil. Don't need a lot. And then a little bit of the magic on here.
My guess is you can probably just use these in the same pan. You might not need as the potatoes. You might not need.
Yeah,
to
no, I'm
wash
not
it in
gonna need to,
between.
yeah, I'm not gonna need to do anything to that. Then I'll just hit it with just a little bit of this salt. Okay. All right. I think what we'll do is I'm gonna check this.
Check the temp on the
Yeah.
the chicken.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm making sure that I get these nice and coated. Yeah, you also get a ton of leaves, and the leaves kind of turn black, but they still taste great.
Oh, I think they're yummy that way. They get really nice and crunchy.
Uh-huh. All right. Now then, let's see what this is.
So checking the chicken to see.
Yeah.
And what part of the chicken do you check?
I'm just checking it. Breast. I bet it feel. Yeah, it's about 104.
And you want it to be 120?
Yeah.
Okay, so it took 6 more minutes.
Yeah, I think that'll be
Get it?
good.
Okay.
All right. So we'll just move this over here out of the way. Then we'll go ahead and get the thyme, and I'll wait on the butter until we're going to make the sauce.
What in the world is that?
Okay, so this is a thyme bouquet. This is another one of those things, I don't remember who I saw it from. What they said is if you took the herbs and you put them into some water and then you put a plastic bag over it and, you know, secured it with a rubber band, they'd last a lot longer. Man, I think I just got through throwing away some thyme that I had from Thanksgiving, and there was still some of it that was good. Actually, I think it was Christmas. There was still some of it that was good. So, you know, I got this, I don't know how many days ago, and it's, you know, it's still perfect.
Do you
So,
keep adding water to it?
no, I every once in a while I will, but it's like, it lasts so much better.
And they're expensive after it.
Well, yeah, because, you know, like this is 2 bunches of thyme. Each bunch is $2. That's $4.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know, not only that, I've taken a different view of food over the years. People that hunt a lot, I saw this with Steve Rinella, the guy that does Meat Eater, and it's like Joe Rogan was. If you haven't watched Meat Eater, I highly recommend it, whether or not you're a hunter or not, just because it kind of gives you a different perspective on food and kind of where the stuff comes from. But you know, they talk about kind of the reverence for the animal, right? And I think that is not just applicable to, you know, food that comes from animals. I think it's any of the food. It's like we kind of owe it to the people that grew it to take care of it, to use it, to not waste it. And it's like this, you know, the idea of taking, you know, time that would have been great. It's excellent to add to all kinds of sauces. And because I'm too preoccupied or lazy or whatever to do something with it right, and I'm throwing it in the garbage all the time, that just seemed like such a waste. So anyway, you know, you guys are getting more editorial today than normal. But just, you know, I just peel it off here.
So you're just peeling
I'm
the
just
leaves
gonna
off the
just
stem?
gonna peel it off the stem.
Okay.
and then I will add that in at the very, it's kind of the end step on the, okay, let's see.
For the sauce.
Let's see where we are here. Get a spot for this to land. Yeah,
How do you know if they're ready?
yeah, they're springy.
Okay, good.
All right, and I'm just gonna toss these in a bowl.
You'll have a complete meal.
I know. Yeah, the ideal thing would be to have these all, ready at, as soon as the chicken's done.
Yeah.
But, the other piece is that they're great kind of snack in the meantime.
Yeah.
All right, now I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put just a touch more olive oil on them.
On the potatoes?
Yeah, just
Oh,
a
boy.
touch. Just because they're just to coat them just a little bit. I don't want much. There we go.
They just seemed a little dry.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Now I'll put this here right now. Then this thing is hot as hell, so that I don't keep bumping my arm up against it and jumping on. Let's put it right here for the time being. Get the thyme finished, and then we'll put the Brussels sprouts in
Okay.
there.
How do you know how long to cook vegetables like that? What do they usually take?
Anywhere, so that was 20 minutes, right? Or no, it's about 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because the timer on this thing's not exact, and
Okay.
I didn't, yeah, how much time?
So
do we
we're
have?
a little under a minute for the chickens.
Okay,
just
so
you know.
yeah, and I'm not sure that, we'll see kind of where it is on the temp range.
Okay. We're just gonna get the time ready first.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we got plenty of time in here. Plenty of time.
Plenty of time. That's good.
All right.
I'm not gonna run out of time.
And thyme is one of those, it's another herb that I never really used that much before. I used basil a lot. I'd use oregano, but it's like, it now is one of my favorites to add this any kind of sauce. In fact, I just got to making some stew, and I will probably toss some in there. Okay. Let's see.
Okay. So
Let me
you
check
the
it.
chicken
See.
before you put in the
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And we're getting close because we're getting some good browning going on. Well, deeper in there though, it's still that's 85 degrees.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
This may be one of those hour and a half fearless cooking.
Or we can just have the picture at the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll see.
Let them know what to expect.
Yeah. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep it. We're going to set it for another 10 minutes.
Okay. So you want it at 120 at the deepest part of the.
Yeah, and then what I'm going to do is I'll take it and then we'll turn the oven off and let it coast the rest of the way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Now,
so Brussels sprouts
now we're going to do the Brussels sprouts. So
might be hot. So
it probably is hot. Yeah.
so you're just
I'm just spreading them out in there.
okay. Do you want them? Is it okay if they're somewhere on top of each other?
Yeah.
or you
Yeah. Well,
try
I'm
to-
going to try and get it all kind of one layer.
Okay.
I mean, the leaves are going to be kind of all over.
Which is good though, because that
Yeah.
gets them nice and crunchy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want any solid pieces on each other.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
And then what temperature do you put this one?
Let's see. What do we have this on? It's 375. I think we'll go with 375 again.
Okay.
All right, we'll just put it at 10 minutes. We'll check it in a minute. Okay, so we've got the time already done. We will, when this thing comes, when the chicken is done, we're going to take the chicken off the plate, set it to the side, and then we will make the sauce. So, what?
When it's all the way cooked?
Yeah, when it's
you
all
do
the
it?
way cooked. Yeah, because obviously we can't take the chicken off of the cast iron until it's done.
Oh, you cook it in the cast iron.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
So
right.
we're in this thing for the full ride, guys. So it is 15 to 5. Yeah, this will probably be, well, we'll see.
We
We'll see.
could pause the recording and bring it back on
Nah,
when we're,
nah,
okay.
we'll just get her done.
Okay.
Okay. So
We'll talk about your bone broth and
yeah, so
soups you're making this week.
one of the things that I started Fearless Cooking because I watched my son, who had just graduated from culinary school. We were at my daughter's house. I think she had just moved into this place. The kitchen really wasn't set up that much. I mean, I'll never forget. Ethan opened up the refrigerator. We'd just gone to, I think it was Costco, and gotten this great piece of tuna. And so Ethan was going to make he said, I'll do something with this. So we forgot to get all the other stuff at the grocery store. So it's like, all right, well, there's got to be something here we can work with. So he opens up the refrigerator, and it was like this white light comes back at him because there's hardly anything in the fridge. And it's like he found, let's see, what did he find in here? He found this kind of shriveled up looking ginger. He found some butter, some maple syrup. I'm trying to remember what, oh, I think there was some garlic. And then over in a drawer, he found these packets of soy sauce. And he ended up making this soy ginger glaze for this tuna. And it's probably one of the best pieces of tuna I ever had. And watching him do that, I was like, I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to just open up a fridge and go, okay, well, this will work with this, will work with that. And so that was kind of why I started Fearless Cooking. It's because as a coach, one of the first things I'm trying to do is to get people to eat real food and to cook food for themselves, right? And so if somebody is intimidated by cooking, or if it's just such an unbearable chore for them, it's like it's too tempting just to order a takeout.
Yeah.
So my goal with this thing all along was to make people more competent cooks. And I realized that a lot of what we're doing is we're doing it off of recipes. But what I'm wanting to do with that is to show you, here's all the different ways that you can cook, right? So
that when you open up your refrigerator, you can
exactly,
say, oh,
you're able to go, hey, I've got some potatoes, I've got some Brussels sprouts. I know, hey, I watched Jim do this in the air fryer. I'll just throw it in the air fryer. Well, yesterday I took some big knuckle bones that I buy from my meat guy at the farmer's market. I got these 2 big bones. I put them in the Instapot. Whenever I'm making stuff with collards or kale, I'll save the stems, the rib that goes, that you I would always just throw those away. But now I got to where I just toss them into a bag and stick them in the freezer. And so when I'm going to make stock, I add that to the stock.
And you do that because why?
Well, because it's a great way to flavor sauces, and it's, once again, it kind of goes back to that, hey, why am I throwing it away if it's going to enhance the quality of my food?
Yeah, it has more nutrients. It adds more nutrients to the.
Well, and also instead of like taking a whole batch of kale and putting it into the stock, one of the things, I guess early on when I was reading one of Bourdain's books, he talked about that French cooking really kind of grew out of people having to make the best that they could out of like real low quality food. The sort of stuff that the nobility was going to throw away, it was up to the cooks and the chefs to try and turn that into real food. So it's like, you think about a lot of the like beef short ribs, that was not a real valued cut of meat because it was real fatty and it was real tough. But if you cook it the right way, it tastes fabulous. So it's like you take kind of the scraps and you make stocks and sauces with them. So I took the bones yesterday, put them in the Instapot, threw some water in there. But I ended up like taking a jalapeno, slicing it up, putting it in. What else did I put in it? A little bit of fish sauce, and like a small piece of turmeric, just the root. And I cooked it for 4 hours. And this morning, there was like a layer of fat that was like that. That was all solid. I got rid of that. Let me check this because it's smelling. Yeah, this may be. Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, those look yummy.
I mean, that was less than 10
Oh
minutes.
yeah, that was quick. So they're done?
Yep,
Wow.
they're done. I'm going to move these over here. Okay.
Can you
Yeah,
turn it
it'll
off?
just keep going,
Oh,
'cause
okay, goes off on
the
its own.
one thing I've heard with these is if you crank that over, that's kind of what breaks the
Oh,
knobs.
so you let it finish.
Yeah, I
on its
just
own.
let it run itself
Okay.
out. Okay, how much time do we have on the?
We've got it just about 2 minutes.
Okay,
A little under
so-
2 minutes.
All right. So, I wouldn't do it. I didn't have to pay any attention to the bone broth while I was cooking. I set the Instapot for 4 hours, and when we did whatever we had to do yesterday. Today, I took some of that same bone broth. I took a piece of rump roast, kind of cubed it up, threw it in as the beef, threw some cabbage, that bone broth, and I think an onion, and a can of tomatoes, and that was done in about. I set the timer on the Instapot for 30 minutes, and it did all of its work while I was doing other stuff. So that's just kind of a long-winded way of saying there's a lot of ways to get food prepped where you don't have to be actively involved in it, and you end up with this great tasting food that'll feed you for a big chunk of the week. All right, let's check on this stuff and see where we are.
Okay. I'll cancel the timer here.
Yeah, I think we're there. We go. Yeah, see, that says 128, so we're going off with that. I think set the timer for 10 minutes.
Okay.
We may be there.
So what is it that we're doing now? So you've got it to 120 and
Yeah,
then
I've got it
you're-
to about 128, so I'm only going to go up to about
So
145
are the
with it.
lemons supposed to go in at that point?
Yeah, you're right. God, it's so great to have, somebody that like keeps you from screwing up too bad.
Well, there's no, but like you said, as long as you don't burn something,
That's
there's
it.
really like,
You can recover.
you can recover. All right, so what are you doing now?
So now I'm just going to put the lemons in, cut side down.
Okay, and you turned the oven off, is that
Yep,
right? So
that's
now
right.
it's just gonna,
It's going to coast.
okay. And you want to get it till it's, the next time you check it, it's at 150, is that right?
I want to get it to where the next time, it's at like 145.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, managed to.
Burn yourself a little.
Yeah, give me that was earlier. Okay, so this is done. All right, let's see if these are any good.
really tasty. All right. Here, you know,
Okay.
it's not fair that I just
Oh, that's,
have a.
thanks.
Mhm.
I can tell everybody how good they are.
So guys, yeah, see, that's
Oh,
what
yeah. Oh, wow, those are
Yeah.
really good.
I'd offer one to y'all, but
They're
sorry.
kind of crunchy on the outside and
Mhm.
soft on the inside.
Yeah, those are nice. All
So
right.
what's gonna happen after that gets to about 150? Then what?
Yeah, so about 1:45 is when I'm gonna try and pull that out. So it'll probably
Okay.
be like, I'm gonna watch that when we get down to, you know, maybe even like 6 minutes. I'll go in there. 'Cause then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the chicken out, rest it on the plate. I've got a piece of foil over here that I'm gonna just tint over it
Okay.
so it kind of hold the heat
Stay
in.
warm.
And then we'll fire this up and make
Okay.
the sauce,
Okay,
okay? Now,
sounds good.
all right.
So what's happening for next week on?
So I think next week what we're gonna do, I had said we were gonna braise. I think what we're gonna do next week is I'm gonna flip it around a little bit. I'm gonna try something, it's like slow roasting, okay? There's a woman that is up in Canada, I can't think of her name right now. I got her cookbook and I'll show that to you next week. And she has this whole like different approach to how you cook pastured and grass-fed meats. She went to is it like UC Davis or someplace, has a degree in like food science, and then she and her husband have a farm, a ranch, and they were raising animals on pasture. And what she realized was that when you look at the difference between the marbling on grass-fed beef versus like conventional grain-fed beef, it's night and day, right? The grass-fed is just so much leaner.
Mhm.
Well, excuse me, the problem is if you cook it like you cook regular beef, it tastes dry. Because the
Wow.
first time I cooked a roast, I was just like, man, this is horrible. I thought this was supposed to be so much better meat. And what I'm realizing is you really have to change your approach to cooking.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't cook a roast much past like 125, 130, which, you know, when you think about it, that's like what you normally cook a steak. And what she does is that she cooks a lot of the meat and she'll start it off for 30 minutes at 250 degrees. Then she cuts the oven back to 170 and cooks it for 4 or 5 hours at 170. So that's what I'm going to do next week. Next week's is going to be recorded. So, it may take me who knows, I might have to cook a couple of roasts to get it right. I'll just put it this way. The one that will be recorded will be the right one. But I think what this does is that, it will eliminate that thing of, hey, this stuff is overcooked.
Got it. Yeah, but it's really also better for you.
Oh,
so.
not only is it better for you, but hey guys, if you haven't watched Alan Savory's TED Talk yet, I know I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. If you just go to Google, look up Alan Savory TED Talk. He's got several, but this one is a 22-minute TED Talk. And yeah, I get it. It's not a 30-second kitten video, but it's like, watch the full 22 minutes of the video, because what he's talking about there is an opportunity for grass-fed, what they call regenerative agriculture, to play a significant role in mitigating global warming. I mean, that's kind of hard to even just get your head wrapped around it. But what they're able to do with this stuff is to actually sequester carbon into the soil. They take it, and like CO2 is what we're worrying about with global warming. They're by grazing animals in a certain way, they've been able to take areas that had been turning into desert and turn it back into this lush, fertile grasslands where all of a sudden native species of plants and animals that had long since had to abandon it because of the desert situation were able to return to the land, and people were able to make a living and feed people, with what they were doing. So it's like I'm completely convinced that that approach to agriculture can make a huge difference. And if we want to see that stuff be successful, we got to support the people in the farmers markets that are growing their animals that way.
Actually doing that.
Absolutely. All right, so let me see what this is looking like.
Okay, you're about at 3 minutes.
Yep,
So
perfect.
I'm gonna use the heavier.
Oh yeah. No.
Had me a little nervous there for a second. I need my chef not to have hands burned up.
No. Yeah, I don't. That's one that it's like after you do it once, you don't have to get. Oh yeah, it's 146. Let's see.
And you're at the very deepest part of the.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to see. Now here in the deeper part, it's a little lower. So I'm going to put it in for, what'd you say we are? So make it 5 minutes.
For 5 more minutes, okay.
Mhm. I think we'll be good. It's looking great.
It smells heavenly.
A chicken that has been roasted where the skin is nice and golden brown, it's like, man, to me, that is about as good as it gets.
So what does the lemon, what does the lemon do in there?
So what we're going to do, the sauce that we're going to make, and I think I made this like one of the first Fearless Cooking things, I don't know, it's been over a year ago. Actually, it was during the, I think the beta version.
Yeah.
And it was like people just kept raving about the sauce, because when you put the lemon and the chicken broth and the thyme and a little bit of butter and the shallots, it just, it's the acid from the lemons, it just makes it.
Yeah,
So
so the lemons are kind of cooking in there.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna squeeze.
I'm going to
out the
squeeze
juice
those,
from
and I'm
that.
going to like push them through. What we're going to do is we'll use this. You have to let them cool just a little bit, or otherwise they will scald you. But we'll put the lemons in here. I'm going to let it cool for just a second. Then we'll squeeze them through here and get the juice, but also get some of that pulp. Okay, and then we'll pour that into the sauce. Yeah.
And you'll be using the drippings from the pan as part of the sauce? Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just
I will
add
pour
things to
some of that off. In fact, I'm going to find something I can pour that into.
You're gonna pour off some of the fat, so it's
Yeah.
not too high fat.
I'll just pour it into this.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I have learned the hard way. I poured some like hot oil into a glass thing. I thought, well, that'll handle it. Yeah, it was funny. I poured it in there, and everything looked fine until I got ready to pick it up, and the top, right up to where the liquid went, that was the part that was left intact, and the whole top of it just came off. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that doesn't work very well.
No, not a good way to do that.
No.
What other kinds of sides might you prepare with this chicken dish?
So the thing about chicken is, it's one of those, like, to me, fish has certain vegetables that I think it goes best with, right?
Mhm.
Chicken and beef, it's almost limitless,
Yeah.
right? So asparagus would be great with this.
Really.
Roasted broccoli would go great with this, and broccoli works great. Actually, I've done asparagus and broccoli in the air fryer. What else would be good?
So I could imagine if you didn't have an air fryer, you could, once you take the chicken out, put the oven back up,
Yep.
have your vegetables ready, and
Yep.
all sorts of different vegetables you could roast in there while you're
While you're
your
making the sauce. Yeah, absolutely. What, from a kind of a strategy standpoint, the beginning of the week, I like to have like 2 or 3 vegetables that are already done, and I like to have, at least in the beginning of the week, 1 or 2 kinds of protein. So that way I don't get stuck eating the same meal over and over again.
right? You can kind of switch in between them. You know, one of the things I'm doing now is, you know, and we'll be cooking a lot more here, is fish.
Mhm.
So like I will, you know, probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, I'll make a batch of either tuna salad or salmon salad that I'll have for, you know, one of the meals. And then, you know, it will kind of fluctuate between, you know, chicken or like grass-fed beef. But, you know, I would say now I'm probably doing fish like 3 or 4 days a week.
Mhm.
And, you know, and I'll be learning a lot of new ways to cook fish. But if you get those kind of protein sources done at the beginning of the week, then a lot of your meals are just putting stuff together and warming it up.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and you're not having to, at the end of the day, going, oh man, I don't feel like cooking.
Yeah. That's when you're most likely to eat things you shouldn't be.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing is cook more than what you need, and then like invest in a vacuum sealer and throw this stuff in a vacuum seal bag and toss it in the freezer. And now you've got food that's already done. All you've got to do is defrost it.
Yeah.
It makes it, yeah, so much easier. Well, like, so yeah, what was it? Last week I ended up sous videing a bunch of chicken breasts. So now they're just sitting in the freezer whenever I'm ready for it. I just, you know, thaw them out and throw them on the grill or throw them in a cast iron skillet and, you know, put a sear on them. Okay, let's see where we are.
All right, checking the chicken again here.
Okay,
Hopefully it's.
I bet we're there.
So you probably check several parts of the places to
Yeah.
make sure, yes?
Yeah. Yeah, see, it's 140, 139.
So almost, but not quite.
Yeah,
Sounds
see,
like.
but here it's 150 though. So here, what the thing is because it's that, it's like 160, 152. Let me see where it goes down to here. Because it will kind of even out.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good here. So I'm
Okay.
gonna take, what I'm gonna do is,
Do you need some?
yeah, I'm
forks?
gonna
Yeah.
grab a couple of forks.
Pretty
Just
hot. So now you're gonna take it out and put it on the plate.
on the plate, yep.
Okay.
And then,
And put the foil on it.
Mhm.
It'll still cook a bit, right?
yeah, oh yeah, it's still cooking right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And by putting the foil on it, it
Yeah.
keeps all that, I mean, basically, it's like kind of resting on steroids.
Okay.
All right, now
All right,
then,
so now you may
yeah, I'm gonna use
Prep
this.
move
And
your
then-
other things so that people
Yeah.
can see.
Yep, but I'm gonna do it this way so you can see through this. Put this
Oh,
here.
so you're taking the lemons, okay?
Putting the lemons in this so that I will, I'll mash those through in just a minute.
Let them cool a little bit,
Mhm.
yeah, okay?
And then, let's see, let's move. Think this through for just a second.
Okay, bringing the skillet over, okay?
Just gonna pour. So I'm leaving, that's about a tablespoon.
Okay,
Okay, that's the fat that I'm gonna cook the,
Okay. Put
the shallots in.
Yeah, if other people want a higher fat one, it's okay to leave all of it.
No, because we're gonna add other stuff to it.
Got it, so
Yeah.
you really need to, okay.
Yeah.
Just have about a tablespoon
Yeah.
left.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna turn this thing on.
You have a canister? in
I've got a canister in,
there?
yeah,
Okay. Wonder if it's empty.
no, brand new.
Hmm. It's not operating today, huh?
Yeah, it's a,
Oh, there's always a stove. It's
Yeah, I know.
empty.
here we
There
go.
it goes. Okay. All right.
Get that on there.
Okay, so what's the
So,
plan
all right,
now?
so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this, I don't have to worry too much about heating it up too much because it was just at 450,
Okay,
but we'll let it heat just a little.
and then what are you
And
gonna
what
do?
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the shallots in,
Okay,
okay, get those kind of going. Then I'll add the stock in there, a little bit of the mustard, all right, and then I will pull the butter out, and then we'll let this all reduce.
okay, and when does the lemon go in?
The lemon needs to go in at right towards the end as
Or
well.
toward the end, and the
Yeah.
time as well, does
Mhm.
that happen at the end?
Mhm.
Okay,
All right, so I'm gonna put this in.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Yep, so it means it's ready for the shallot.
So the shallots are going in. This won't take but just a second. But I'm gonna get the lemons squeezed.
So this should be about like medium heat?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this thing goes pretty quick.
okay,
These are hot.
you're just squishing them in there,
Mhm.
okay?
Kind of rubbing them around just to get that.
You just gotta make sure you keep the shallot,
Yeah, so you don't get them burned.
yeah, okay. Okay,
I think those are good.
now,
Now I'm gonna add the chicken broth.
okay,
All right, that's a cup. I'm gonna hit it with a squirt of, there is a squirt right there. That's what happens when you put it upside down. There we go.
a squirt of,
Yeah,
Dijon
Dijon
mustard, okay,
Mhm.
nice flavors together.
Yeah, I mean, lemon juice, Dijon mustard, chicken broth. I mean, that's all kind of,
Butter,
Mhm, yeah.
can't go wrong, right?
that's it. And that lemon juice. So, you could also add white wine to
I was
this.
wondering about that,
Well, the lemon in essence kind of acts as the acid like
Acid,
white
right.
wine does.
okay, yeah. Then when it comes time to serve, so you'll just cut off like a piece of chicken and then you can just put the
Yep.
sauce over it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Let's see here. Yeah, that lemon is still pretty warm. And there's nothing like hot lemon juice to let you know where every little, cut and nick that you have on your
I
fingers.
can imagine.
Yeah. Get as much of that to go through as possible.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I bet that is just gonna be so.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's good. And this sauce is coming along. It's reducing.
When does the butter go in? So
Butter
you-
goes in pretty quick right at the end, and we'll put the thyme in as well. I think I'm getting ready to put the lemon in just a minute.
Oh, it smells. I just caught a whiff. It smells heavenly.
Mhm. Yeah, it's,
Wow.
I think pan sauce is just a great way to elevate whatever it is that you're cooking.
Yeah, any
Um,
flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, whether or not it's steak or, seafood, it's like it's just adding that extra step, that extra sauce, just really elevates the meal. So, all right, I'm gonna let that go and grab the
Butter?
butter. Yep.
And about how much butter?
This is about, that's probably, it's 2 tablespoons. That's probably about a tablespoon and a half, if I had to guess.
And what are you looking for? You're trying to get it to reduce?
I'm just reducing it just to
Okay.
concentrate the flavors a little
Okay.
bit. And I'm getting ready to add the lemon juice in just a second. And the thyme. And then the butter is just a way to like finish the sauce.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we'll do. Well, we'll let that go until the very end, and then we'll, I don't know if we're gonna do the plate, we'll see.
Yeah, that's a lot to, we're 15 minutes over, so.
Okay, yeah, so here's what our potatoes look like. Okay, here are our, see if I, yeah, this is cool down enough. Here's what we ended up with the Brussels sprouts. And then I'll wait to unveil the chicken here just a minute.
It's gonna be a beautiful plate. with all
It
those
is. I will
colors.
put it, I'll post this picture to the Instagram group, I mean, the Facebook group. Okay. Add the lemon juice.
Really thick. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then the thyme and the butter. Oh yeah.
Wow. It just smells amazing.
You know, it's like life's too short to eat food that doesn't like make you smile,
Right.
and this will make you smile. All right.
This looks really, really yummy.
Yes, it does. So here's our finished sauce. And then I will
You're probably gonna reduce that down a bit more? Or is
just a
it-
little bit,
Yeah.
but not, yeah,
Something
it's,
about-
yeah, because I think it'll keep going just a touch, but yeah. All right, and then let me show you the chicken. What we ended up with there. Actually, I'm gonna take any of the juice that's left from the chicken and pour it in.
Ah, okay. Just add some extra.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, perfect. We'll let that reduce for,
That's beautiful.
yeah, so it's nice and brown, and you know the juices in it are clear, so we're good. Guys, it's been a pleasure cooking with you today. I appreciate your patience that we ran a little over, and I'll send out the email. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go to go to abalancedview.com/fearlesscooking and sign up, because I'm redoing the invites. So just go in there, you know, click on it. If you haven't just recently signed up for Fearless Cooking, because I'm gonna update the mailing list. So anyway, I'll be getting something out early this next week that will be the video for next Sunday. And enjoy the rest of your day, and eat some great food this week. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.